China has described this week's high-level talks with the United States as constructive. Both sides have agreed to cooperate to bring relations back on track. Now, as a starting point, a virtual summit is to be held between Presidents Xi Jinping and Joe Biden by the end of the year. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has held 6 hours of talks in Zurich with top Chinese diplomat Yang Jiechi. Unlike their previous acrimonious meeting in Alaska, the talks have been described as constructive and candid. Well, Simon Marks joins us live now from Washington, D.C. for more on this. Simon, an apparently improved atmosphere in these talks. Is this a step forward, though, in easing those strained ties between the United States and China?
Well, there seems to be no question that the White House certainly believes the fact that this meeting was able to come up with a concrete deliverable, the prospect of that virtual face-to-face meeting between Presidents Biden and Xi before the end of the year, demonstrates that this was a more positive, candid and constructive, that's the word the White House has been using, exchange between Jake Sullivan and Yang Jiechi, certainly than the exchange that took place when they and other officials met in Alaska back in March. And then, of course, there was a pretty chilly meeting when Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman travelled to China a few weeks ago. The Biden administration had been pushing for a while to try and get a face-to-face meeting on the cards. That, of course, has been made difficult by the fact that President Xi did not attend the UN General Assembly in person, is not attending the G20 in Italy in person, and still hasn't decided whether he's going to be at the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow in November in person. So the two sides have clearly decided that the best thing to do is to get this conversation on the books and to do it virtually. The White House was unable to say yesterday when it might happen. Those details still to be worked out.
But at the same time, Washington is going to remain firm on red line issues like Taiwan, for example, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. And the White House says that Jake Sullivan remained firm on those red line issues in the meeting that took place in Zurich. They say that there was a focus on areas where the two countries may be able to work together, which would potentially include climate change. But the backdrop to this meeting was, of course, the much more muscular policy that the Chinese have been taking towards Taiwan in recent days, with the defense minister in Taipei saying, even as the meeting was underway, that he feared the possibility of a Chinese invasion by 2025. So Taiwan absolutely is going to be on the agenda for any meeting between the two leaders, along, of course, with human rights, the situation in Xinjiang and the Uyghurs, the latest movements in Hong Kong, and, of course, China's aspirations in the South China Seas and other disputed waterways. So it's going to be a complex conversation, including, of course, trade, which was highlighted earlier in the week here in Washington when the U.S. trade representative said there would be no alleviation in the current tariffs that are arrayed against Chinese goods and services. It's going to be a tough conversation whenever it happens, but it is going to happen.
Simon, thank you very much for that update. Simon Marks there in Washington, D.C.